Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on this call. My name is Craig Weinrich, and I am the Director of Member Services for the Council of New Jersey Grantmakers. The reason we're having this call is because after the recent spat of disasters, a colleague asked us what they could do to support their employees that were affected. So CNJG is offering this time and space to talk amongst peers, to hear what others are doing, what you might be struggling with, how to begin, and to also share some of your successes in helping your employees recover. Because we cannot see each other and because we're not doing any more roll calls, before you speak, please do identify yourself and the company you are with. We want this to be an open forum call for you to share your insights, your strategies, and any advice as to how to assist your employees that are located in the areas affected. So I'll open it up for any immediate questions that someone has to get us started.
This is Gianna from Integra, and we have a manufacturing plant in Puerto Rico, so we are scrambling, to be honest, because we've never had to do anything like this, to get donations from our employees to be able to give cash to the people who live in Puerto Rico who work for us. So I actually run our foundation, but we can't really do it through the foundation. It's a corporate foundation, and it's not legally set up to do that. But I saw through the emails that some of you use the Employee Assistance Foundation, which looked really almost like it'd be perfect. Is there anybody on the call? I just haven't gone back to look at the emails. Who's using that?
Hi, this is Cheryl from Wyndham. Yes, it's the Emergency Assistance Foundation, and
that's right.
We actually started a relationship with them last fall, primarily to address, in general, just our associates who face hardships, whether it's medical related or funeral costs or other things that an associate may go through, and even unrelated to disasters. But we found it to be very helpful last year during Hurricane Matthew, during the wildfires, and then certainly through the hurricane season this year. They have the regular fund, and then they have some other options during disasters that you can implement if you choose. And then they've been flexible with working with us to create something that works well for our associates. So we have been pleased overall. I think during this time period, because they've been so overwhelmed with the amount of people applying for support, we definitely have had to be patient here and there. But overall, our relationship has been good. Our main focus has just been, really trying to get more funds and raising funds from our associates because the need is so high. I know on some of the emails that went back and forth was sort of questioning whether we should do it as our own as a company or use a third party, and I think having the third party definitely helps, from any biases or other things that may come into play, and just from a resource standpoint as well.
Yeah, it looks like it's, again, this is Gianna who asked the question. It looks like it's a great way to be compliant and not have some of the problems that you could have otherwise. But we don't have anything, and I guess I don't know what the company's going to do, but how quickly can the Employee Assistance Foundation set up Emergency Assistance Foundation set up something for a company? And I'm assuming that it costs something. So
setting it up is very fast. They can do a pretty big turnaround. I think the longest piece, and so that'll depend on your company, was just setting up the contract, with your legal team, because you're dealing with sensitive issues with associates. We had to go through a lot with our privacy group. So I would say it just depends on how strict your company is around compliance and privacy. So that piece probably would take the longest. But on the Emergency Assistance Foundation end, they can do it fairly quickly. There are fees related, both fees for each application as well as some initial startup costs.
Yeah,
Gianna,
this is Amanda.
Can you share what the fees would be?
They certainly have all the information on their website, but for each application, it is $200, and then international, it can be anywhere from $225 to $250, depending on the amount of additional work they have to go through. If I recall, I think I want to say $5,000 for the initial startup. But Caitlin or Nicole, feel free to jump in if you remember a different number, but I think it was $5,000 for the initial startup.
And is it an international
Gianna, are there?
Sorry. Is it it's an international program?
We have set it up as a global program, and there are different criteria that's set up. They have some basic criteria that most of their companies use, but you can tweak it to fit what suits your company the best.
So, Gianna, this is Amanda from Campbell. So I was the one who sent out that initial inquiry, and I want to thank everybody who's on the phone who responded to me. It's very helpful. So in my very immediate need, which is similar to yours, we have employees in Puerto Rico and Mexico as well. We actually have an office in Mexico, so with the earthquake. So several employees kind of lost the entirety of their homes and all their belongings. So I was looking for something similar. We were looking at options just like crowdfunding sites initially because that had happened for previous hurricanes for us. And when I looked into that, we were just running into so many legal and liability and just kind of tax issues that it really became apparent that we need a third party. So when kind of several colleagues who were on the phone mentioned EAF, I reached out to them right away. I will say their response was great. So I am in the process of kind of setting up an immediate, what is it called? So like immediate relief program. They call them IRPs with them. So I basically just went through the contracting phase, and they're kind of setting up our donation portal now. So in essence, Doug, the guy who runs it, says it can be, a day or two to get like the initial website together. This is after you kind of go through like contracting. Our legal team kind of turned that around really quickly. And they'll have like the donation portal where employees can kind of go on and make contributions up right away. And then it takes about like a week or so to get kind of the application for affected employees going, as well as like your own like company website that has both that application and a donation system. I will say though that our legal team was so excited when I kind of brought this option to them, given the other options that we were looking at and all of the potential issues and obstacles that they were finding with it, that they were like super quick turning around a contract. And the amounts that are listed in the contract, for fees, are it's like a $7,500 startup fee, and it's like 1% on all employee donations. And then there are per application fees depending on what program you're setting up. So for right now, I'm doing an immediate response, which gives employees like kind of up to $1,000. And then for your more elaborate program is where that kind of $200 application fee that Cheryl mentioned comes in, which is like where they could apply for up to several $1,000s and might have to show proof of damage and all that kind of thing. But so far they've been really responsive and good to work with. So I'm hopeful that my stuff will be up and running soon. But I really appreciated the feedback that you guys all gave me and several partners who use them. So they seem like a good turnkey solution for us anyway. We're in the same boat as you.
Hi, this is Jackie Campbell. So what's the name of that third party?
So that's the Employee Assistance Foundation.
But it's Emergency Assistance.
Sorry.
I'm sorry?
Emergency Assistance Foundation.
Emergency Assistance Foundation. So what happens? The employee submits an application, and like you said, either $1,000 or several $1,000s, and they have to maybe supply a quote, an image, etc.
This is Cheryl from Wyndham. Again, there's two different types. You can set up the regular fund, where it does require a more lengthy application, and you do have to provide documentation. It is a longer process, and that's usually used for things that are not immediate. They then have this other option, the immediate response, which Amanda was referring to, that they are working on specifically for the disaster, where they can get a smaller amount, usually through gift cards or wire transfers, and can get it to the associate much faster. But that's like another piece of their regular program, and that does not require much documentation. It's a shorter form, and you can work with usually your HR person that's located wherever the disaster, or whoever is the point of contact for employees. But with a regular fund, yes, it is a lot more documentation. You do have to upload receipts, and they usually like to give the money to the vendor itself. So if it's, a doctor, because the associate can't afford to pay the medical bill, or, to get their electricity turned back on, or whatever the issue is, they tend to like to pay the vendor. But in this case, the money goes to the employee.
Okay, thank you.
But I have a question about, since it's a nonprofit, does anyone have a matching gift program set up that the company matches the employee gifts?
This is Jackie Kemp with Santa Fe. We are doing we do have a matching gift program, and if they decide to donate to a nonprofit that is doing something with the hurricanes, we will match it. We have also set up a microsite with American Red Cross, in which employees can donate to either 1, 2, or all 3 hurricanes, and then our foundation will match the total dollar for dollar.
Actually, what I was asking about was the Emergency Assistance Foundation. Does anyone have it set up where the company, if an employee donates to EAF, will the company match that gift as well? Doesn't sound like it. Okay.
Well, with Wyndham, yes, we've set it up in 2 ways. We have through our regular matching, and then we've made a special ask that associates donate to the campaign or to the Associate Relief Fund during these disasters, and we set a certain amount that we're willing to match up to. But they are a nonprofit, so each associate here is allotted $100 in matching dollars. So an associate can use that at any point to have their gift match to the Emergency Assistance Foundation, and then they just designate the dollars to the Wyndham Fund. But during this disaster period, the company has actually offered a larger match.
So this is Gianna again. Was it Cheryl, I think, who said that you've also set up a microsite with the American Red Cross where you can donate to any or all of the work for hurricane relief?
No, that was not Wyndham, but there's another Cheryl on the phone, so I'm not sure whether.
No, that was Jackie Kemp with Santa Fe. Yes, in conjunction with American Red Cross, we set up a microsite with the Red Cross, and our employees can go and, if they want it, they can select which hurricane they would like to donate to, Harvey, Irma, or Marie, and then we close out on October 13th, and whatever the total amount is, we will then match dollar for dollar.
But that money doesn't go to the employees of the company, right? It goes to
no, it goes to the Red Cross. Yeah, no, it goes to the Red Cross.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry, again, Gianna, one other question. You talked, those of you who worked with EAF, you talked about a $200 application fee. I can call EAF and get more details, but is that the applicant who needs the money has to pay it, or does the company pay it for them?
No, that's handled on the fee structure of the company, and you can decide as a company how you want to handle that. But the person requesting the dollars do not pay the fee.
I didn't think so, but I couldn't imagine that the company would do that, but I was just kind of curious. All right, thank you.
Hello, I just wanted you to know that I'm Rafael Toro, and I'm with Goya, and I'm also just came in on the conversation about 10 minutes ago. and listening to what all you guys are doing.
Thanks, Raphael. Do you want to take a minute to talk about what you guys are doing at Goya?
Yeah, we I think a great analogy is what happens when you board a plane, and they talk about the oxygen mask is to make sure that your oxygen mask is on before you help anybody get their oxygen mask on as well. Also, our facility in Puerto Rico was completely decimated, as the whole island was. So our first goal was to get up and running. We got up and running on Wednesday, where we're now able to produce products that we're donating to the islands. We've donated 125,000 pounds of food to the municipality of San Juan, another 125,000 to the municipality of Bayamon, also about 60,000 pounds to another municipality of San Lorenzo. There is an organization of senior centers that we've donated to. The chefs of Puerto Rico are cooking food and giving them to the folks, and we're donating to that as well, among some other things that we're doing. I mean, we're even the lights aren't working for the traffic signals aren't working, and they have to have police manning all the streets and where traffic lights would be, and we're donating juices and food so they can stay on the job there. So we're working with different entities to find out what their needs are and try to help as much as we can. From here, we partnered with a radio station and collected 2.5 containers worth of food and water from 50 locations in the New York, New Jersey area. We brought them over here between the radio station and our employees. We packed them up into pallets and into boxes, and then it was 2.5 containers. And then what we did was we added another half container full of food, so it's now three containers that we are going to be shipping out on a barge on October 3rd to Puerto Rico. It'll take 5 days to get there. We're going to be collaborating with Mark Anthony is having a concert in Miami. We're going to be collaborating with him. We're in the process of setting up a program where the employees here can donate to help our employees in Puerto Rico. There are employees in Puerto Rico, our employees that lost everything down there. This is a very unique situation for us. This is the first time that we've been directly affected by what's happened in these natural disasters. And between the 3 hurricanes, we've had damages to 7 of our facilities. But we're in it for the long run. We'll probably, I think by the end of this week, we'll have donated about 525,000 pounds of food, and this is only the first part. So we're going to keep on continuing to donate food until Puerto Rico is back on its feet. So that may take months, if not years.
So, Raphael, this is Gianna again. You said that you were that's amazing what you guys are doing. But you also said that you've got a program where employees can donate to help the people your employees in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, we're setting that up. We're going to do that through the payroll, a payroll program. So and then we'll be giving that money to our employees down there that we're in the process of setting that up now. I mean, for one, I think it was like 8 days, we were just not operational at all down there. You couldn't even reach our people down there by any forms of communications. So we're now in the process of trying to set all that up. But that's what we're going to do with our employees, have them be able to donate through the payroll, and then have the people down there disperse it to employees that need it.
Hi, this is Amanda from Campbell. I would just ask, we can take this offline, but there's been a lot of discussion internally, especially with our team down in Puerto Rico. So you popped on after I was mentioning this. So we have several employees down there. We have a very good business in Puerto Rico, and they're very interested in kind of being local leaders and just kind of the rebuilding efforts. But I think it would be great. They're looking to kind of partner. So maybe you and I, maybe Craig, you can help connect us, but maybe you and I can just take it offline and discuss if there's any opportunities for our teams down there to partner on any of this relief work. I think our team is very interested in that. You guys have a lot going on. So do they. They're kind of working with a lot of local distributors, again, getting their product out, same thing. So I wonder if there's some opportunity for collaboration there.
I can certainly put you in touch with our people down there and see where that goes. If there's a possibility of collaboration, sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Craig, if you wouldn't mind just sharing our contact info with each other, that would be helpful.
Will do.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to jump in with any burning questions that they have or best practices that they've heard?
So this is Linda Revnak. I'm from CR Bard. So I missed part of the call because I know you guys were talking about the Emergency Assistance Foundation, and I wish I had looked at that. But we've been talking to the Community Foundation of New Jersey because they're able to do an employee crisis fund as well. And we were wondering, because we're not quite sure how this works, can these types of crisis funds be set up only for disaster relief as opposed to any type of employee crisis? So I know there's medical issues or, home fires or those types of categories, and then disaster relief. Does anyone know if it could be segmented out that it's just disaster relief?
This is Cheryl from Wyndham. My understanding is, at least with the Emergency Assistance Foundation, they offer a set of criteria, and then it's up to the company to tweak as you see fit, or what works best for your company. I can't say for sure, but from what they shared with us when we initially set up the fund, I think you can decide on which items that you want applicable to your fund. So I would think the answer would be yes, but I would check with them to be sure.
Do you happen to know if the Emergency Assistance Foundation came out of or is part of a community foundation?
I don't think so. The gentleman, Doug, that Amanda mentioned earlier, I think started it on his own. They have a little bit of background information on their website of who they are and how they got set up, but I do not think it had anything to do with the community foundation.
Doug, this is Amanda from Campbell. Doug mentioned that the way that they are actually set up is like a community foundation, so it operates in the same way.
Because I know it talked about the same type of fund agreement that the community foundation is mentioning. And what do you guys have any sense of the average amount that is given as the maximum per employee?
Well, again, I think it varies depending on how much money the company is putting in or how much you think you'll be able to raise. I think the average is a couple thousand. We have ours at 1,000 at a start, and then we'll continue. We have a task force that continues to review it, and we'll tweak as necessary in the future. But right now, our max is 1,000. And Amanda is correct. It is set up like a community foundation, but I don't think it came out of one.
This is Nina. Hello, everyone. It's great to hear all this. I'm wondering if it would be helpful and if people would respond if we put out a query as to how much people are allocating per impacted employee. Does that make sense? Is that something that companies are going to be willing to share internally within our network?
Sure. And like for us, we're just investigating this, so we're not exactly sure where we will land. We started at 1,000, and somehow we moved to 2,500, and now 5,000 is being considered, that's great. The only thing is, how much is this going to cost us? So I don't know. Like I said, no decisions have been made, but we don't even know how in the world to come up with a budget. We have 500 or 600 employees down there.
So I think if we could send out a query, Craig, that asked about that, if people could share what they're giving or what they're looking at giving, and also if people could share their criteria for their emergency employee funds. To Cheryl's point, which has been so helpful, that the idea of, is it for any kind of emergency? Because I know, is there anyone from PSCG on the call? I know that they have an emergency. I know that they have had an emergency employee fund, and we could try and get what their criteria is.
I know that they do that through the Community Foundation.
Exactly.
And Etta from Bank of America shared their information on their program, and that also did mention that this is not just for disasters. Their program is not just for disasters, but it's for any kind of employee hardship, be it an individual house fire or something else, medical issues. Actually, no, it did not include medical issues, but other individual areas as well.
I think, this is Cheryl from Wyndham again, I do think the point about the amount, though, it may be helpful to do the query, but that it may change and folks may have a set amount for their regular fund, but with a disaster, I think that is sort of a moving piece for all of us, so it may not be an exact science, but probably great to get some information.
This is the other Cheryl, and I'm wondering, beyond American Red Cross and like Salvation Army, who in the U.S., for the Gulf Coast and Florida disasters, who are some of the charities that you all are funding that you have a lot of faith in? I believe the food banks are solid, but I'm wondering if there's any others that you think are really reputable and doing great work down there.
So this is Linda from CR Bard. We also work with AmeriCares, Direct Relief, MAP International, and Project Hope. They deal a lot with medical assistance. So we're very confident with those groups, if that's helpful.
And this is Jackie Campbell with Sanofi. I second what was just said. And we also deal with World Vision. In fact, right now we are doing an employee drive. World Vision gave us certain products that they'd like donated, and we're shipping them out, and they're going to be distributing. So those NGOs we're very pleased with. And did you say Heart to Heart International?
I didn't, but I know that they're good too.
Yeah, we're doing hygiene assembly kits with Heart to Heart International, and thus far, I think we've done almost 3,200.
This is Nina. I just want to say also, in those communities where you've had a lot of employees impacted by the disasters, you might also want to look at the local community foundations, whether in Florida or in Texas and Louisiana or the Pacific Northwest or Puerto Rico. Those local community foundations will be essential. It's something we learned through our work with Hurricane Sandy and hearing around the country. The community foundations are essential in the longer-term recovery and rebuilding, and great partners in helping to respond that way.
This is great. Thank you.
We've also at Campbell, we've also been partnering besides with the Red Cross, Feeding America, United Way, also with Convoy of Hope, which we have found to be an invaluable partner in actually helping us to move our product donations. So if any of their companies are in that similar situation where sometimes it's difficult to get product into just kind of these areas, especially like in Puerto Rico, just with the the current state there. But so they've been really great. They actually pick up our products from our warehouses and manufacturing facilities, and then put them on shipment containers, freighters, air freight them in, depending on kind of what the situation is. But they've been really great, super responsive. They save us a lot of money on freight. So for anybody thinking about these kind of in-kind contributions, they're wonderful. They also take financial contributions, which I'm considering with them now, to help with things like water filtration systems and tarps and cleaning kits and those things that are kind of needed as things shift from immediate needs to just kind of more of that cleanup and recovery phase. But they've been really great too.
What was the name of that group?
What was the name?
Oh, sorry, Convoy of Hope.
Oh, Convoy of Hope. Okay.
And would they be willing to take product into our manufacturing sites, or is it just into some charitable relief group?
I'm sorry, ask that again?
So if we needed to get product or different things down into our facilities at these plants, would they work with us on that, or is it just donation of items to nonprofits?
I think it's mainly donation, but it is something that you could check with them because we own Plum Organics, which is a organic baby food company out of California, and they utilize them in a way similar to that for various things. So I know they'll work with partners depending on kind of what you need, but that would be something you'd have to discuss directly with them. I can't really answer for sure.
Thank you.
This is Gianna. I'm just asking, this Convoy of Hope, you said they pick up from the warehouse, which obviously is a really great feature. Do they do that just in the U.S. or are they international as well?
So they provide international aid. So I know, so they're deploying our products, to Puerto Rico, to Mexico, Dominican Republic. They're doing a lot of work in the Caribbean islands right now. In terms of do they pick up in, they do in countries where they have like a consignee in that country. So because we were working with them on this in Mexico because we were trying to see if we could move product from a co-manufacturer in Mexico and if they could do that for us. So they can if they have like that sign up in that particular country.
Right.
So I think it depends country to country, but they do it. So it depends on where and if they have that consignee. Yeah.
Okay. That's great. Thanks.
So wait, this is Amanda. I have another question because you guys are being really helpful. On those who have done, someone mentioned Heart to Heart International and putting together hygiene kits, has anyone been mobilizing a lot of employees locally, like I think Raphael, you mentioned this, to put together kits for shipment to any of these affected areas, so whether it's toiletries, cleanup kits, et cetera, and who have you worked with on that and what particularly have you done?
This is Linda from BARD again. So previously we've worked with MAP International for hygiene kits. Mm-hmm. Those were things that we do just as a volunteer activity throughout the year. So a couple months ago we put together a couple thousand kits, and so we know that those items were sent down to the Houston area. So we felt pretty good about that, but we haven't done anything since these particular hurricanes happened. But I'm sure that they would be happy to come out and do a project with you.
And that's MAP. Did you say it was MAP International?
Yes, MAP International.
This is Jackie Campbell with Sanofi. We're working with Heart to Heart International in assembling hygiene kits. Last week in Atlanta we did 900. Next week we're doing 1,800 kits. And then the week, I think of October 16th, we're doing another 1,800 kits. Those are the ones that are set in stone. Every day at our POA meetings, we're getting inquiries as to how the POA attendees can help, and we're recommending these hygiene kits. In speaking with Heart to Heart, people are saying, well, the hurricanes happened 3 weeks ago. People are going to be in shelters for a long, long, long time. So even through November and possibly December and even early next year, these hygiene kits are going to be a necessity to be handing out to people that are in shelters.
And this is Cheryl with Wyndham. Though we're not working with them on specifically for the recent disasters, two organizations we have worked with on kits are Clean the World and Save the Children. And as to the previous question about what organizations are we working with, Save the Children is our global CSR partner, and we are supporting them in their disaster relief efforts. They're setting up a lot of makeshift schools and having the opportunity to really work with a lot of children and families in these shelters, especially in the Houston area. And they're starting to get set up in Puerto Rico as well.
This is Craig from the Council. I wanted to ask a question that dovetails nicely in this on behalf of somebody else that I had talked with yesterday regarding product donations. They're facing a situation where an employee wants to collect items from fellow employees to send to families of affected employees down in Puerto Rico. The company is really hesitant to endorse that because logistically, as you guys know, it's tough for them to collect all the items, ship them, and find the local organization to accept and redistribute. They don't want to say no to appear unsympathetic, but they're not sure how to not set a precedent for future things. So what advice would you give to address that situation?
Quite frankly, I mean, we already have a process in place where we are sending things on a weekly basis. So, I mean, that's why we have space available. But, at this moment to send something down, I mean, FedEx is not going down, UPS is not going down there. The only way you can send something down is by boat. And right now the boats are having problems just being able to get the products off the boats and then getting onto trucks is basically, to hold off. I mean, this is something that's going to impact this island for a long time, and it's not like, in 1 month, people are going to be okay. This is something that is going to be in for the long haul. And, once the infrastructure is up to a certain extent where products can be sent down there, then you can do that. But right now, it's really, really difficult to get products into the country. And luckily, the president lifted the Jones Act because it was even more difficult then. Now it's a little easier, but still, planes coming in, you are not being allowed. There are planes, commercial flights are not being allowed to enter for one reason or the other. So it's really hard to get products in at this moment.
This is Gianna. I'm wondering too, how hard is it to get money at the moment? I don't even know if banks are operating or how to get wire transfers or get money to employees. If you've collected money through one of these processes, has anyone heard anything about that?
Well, a lot of ATMs aren't working, and the ones that are working probably don't have any money.
Right. But I'm just saying, if we collect a lot of money from our employees through whether it's the emergency foundation or whether it's another process, and then we want to give money out to our employees in Puerto Rico, I don't even know whether we can do that yet.
This is Nina. One of the techniques that was used following Hurricane Sandy that might be interesting. One of our members actually wanted to support families in specific communities, and in their case, they worked with the schools and had credit. They worked with one of the credit card companies and had basically debit cards with $1,000 put on each card and distributed that way. They worked with the school principals so that the families they knew who the families were and they had to come and pick up the card. But that may be a kind of technique to use in order as a way if you've got a means of distribution of the cards on the island, but that's one way in terms of getting getting money to employees.
Well, are cards working if the electricity's out?
Well, in terms of debit cards, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah. If electricity's out, I don't, then how you get cash to employees, unless you've got a base there that you can do it. And some of you I know do have a base, so you may have the ability.
Yeah, this is Gianna again. This is a really logistically this is pretty complicated. So we have a facility, we have a manufacturing facility down there, but it's getting the money down there, whether it's in a form of a debit card with a credit company or in another form, and then distributing it. How do you make sure it's getting distributed appropriately? I mean, it's with the infrastructure essentially destroyed. Very little, there's some generators. It's going to be an interesting process. So if anybody does actually successfully overcome some of this in the next week, 2 weeks, whatever, it'd be great to hear how you did it. Because I don't know how long this is going to last. So they say months.
Yeah, I second that. I was just on an email chain this morning with our team down there who they got approval from kind of our heads of that business to send money to the company, to send money to those affected employees, right? But then she was reaching out to me asking me how to do it. And I was like, I do not know. To your question, I just have no idea, because we've been getting reports from those employees that, they're waiting on 6-hour lines at ATMs that don't have money or various things, and that everything is operating on cash because cards aren't working because of the electricity. So it is a barrier, 100%. So
I mean, it's almost become a cash society, because how do you even use credit cards, debit cards, cash a check? So does the company then? How do you even? It's logistically complicated.
This is Cheryl from McMaster. I was on the Red Cross call yesterday. I don't know if any of you were, but they were talking about and they're going to shelter people for months, and they're right now doing 500,000 meals a day in Puerto Rico alone, let alone some of the other areas. And this is an ongoing, some people's houses are completely destroyed, so they're going to be needing to shelter them for quite some time, meaning not months, but more like years for some, to get everything going. And the supply chain and logistics are completely overwhelming in asking about what you want your employees to do. Really, the bottom line is send money to the charities that you trust, because they're still going to have to feed people, shelter people, and do things for the long term, and not necessarily just for the short term. As far as when everything's going to be up and running, they're working diligently, but they don't even have an answer. They're working on telecom and other most urgent things first.
This is Cheryl from Wyndham. I would echo that, Craig, to your original question. We did have someone to approach about wanting to do a clothing drive, and just really encourage them at this time to donate to one of the charities that we suggested.
Thank you. I certainly appreciate that. And any other burning questions that people have?
Well, this is Gianna. It's one thing that we've done at our company, and probably other companies have done similar things, is we'll run sort of a drive, a charitable drive per month. We collect donations, not in kind but cash. And then we take that cash as a company and then donate it to an organization. Whether it's Direct Relief, American Red Cross, one of the other really great organizations out there. So that's also another way to do it, is have the drive in the company, employees give it to the company, and then the company matches. Our foundation will match up to a certain amount, and then we take the total cash and we give it to a specific NGO. So I don't know. It doesn't then go to the employees in Puerto Rico, which is sort of the point that we're trying to, kind of set up. But it is a way to have the employees involved and, give a large amount to an organization. from the company and the employees.
This is Linda. This is a separate issue, but we're also trying to run our workplace campaign starting in a week or so, and this is really going to affect our normal fundraising. And you wonder what kind of an effect it's going to have on our local charities in the long run. So it's going to be a very difficult year for a lot of people, not just the folks in these affected areas.
Hey, Linda, this is Amanda. That's a really good point. And we're in a similar situation. So I'm launching our United Way campaign on October 17th, right? And so by the time I get this employee donation portal up and running, it's probably going to be a week prior to that. So I agree. So we run a United Way campaign, and I've been talking with United Way regarding they've set up these long-term, United Way Worldwide has set up these long-term recovery funds in these kind of affected regions. So for the various disasters. And so I will be touting that and definitely wrapping in all that the company has been doing to respond to all these various disasters over the season into our overall communications for the campaign, but then offering that up too is an opportunity for employees. And I know that it'll take away from things here locally, but I think we are hearing just such an overwhelming desire from employees to do something. And to all the points that we've made here, where you try to tell them, hold on, because this is a long process and the need is just going to be so much for so long for so many things. But that is one way to kind of help people feel like they're contributing to kind of the potential longer-term recovery. So, but that's at least how I'm going to approach it for right now, because I'm dealing with the same issue and way of timing of all of this.
Good points all. Thank you very much. I do want to also offer up another resource for everyone if they're not already familiar with it. Based on our work after Hurricane Sandy hit here, we partnered and collaborated with the Center for Disaster Philanthropy to create the Disaster Philanthropy Playbook, which is all online at disasterplaybook.org. Specifically regarding this conversation, there is a section for employee support that is under the strategies headline that offers up some other examples of what other companies have done. And many of them have already been talked about here, like providing gift cards for their employees in affected areas. One of the other things long-term to also think about are legal assistance and legal fees, that there's going to be a lot of, with the recovery efforts, a lot of legal expertise that's going to be needed to get the right kind of insurance and payments done and who's responsible for what. So just to echo, this is, as we all know, this is going to be a long-term recovery process. So just want to lift up that resource as well, too. One other question for Amanda. You talked about Convoy of Hope. We were contacted by the Governor's Office of Service and Volunteers, and that they're looking for space to hold the items that they've received to be able to ship down to Puerto Rico. Do you think they would be able to work with a government agency for that kind of a situation?
Very quite possibly. I know they have warehouses kind of all over. A big one in Springfield, Missouri, that they kind of use as one of their points of center for shipping things out. But I'm happy to connect you with my contact there, who can answer obviously more readily than me. But I wouldn't see why not. I mean, if they had potentially the ability to host those things in their warehouses, but they have a pretty intricate network kind of to respond to disasters. So I would assume that they have a lot of room and potentially an ability to do that.
Thank you. So I'm mindful of the time. This has been I believe, a fantastic conversation, and really appreciate everyone being so candid with their responses for some of these sensitive questions. As I mentioned, we've recorded this conversation. We'll post this to our website next week. If you or other people that weren't able to access the call will be able to download the recording and listen to it. So just want to give one last opportunity for any other questions or comments or concerns that people have before we officially end the call.
Thank you guys for setting this up. It's very helpful.
Yep, thank you very much. Great.
Thanks for everything that everybody's doing.
I'll echo that. Thank you for everything all of you guys are doing. So we'll end the call now. So thank you very much. If you want to continue a conversation, just to also plug Tuesday, our corporate philanthropy network is meeting. That's going to be talking about data and analytics. So if you want more information on that or to register for that program, hopefully you can join us. That'll be Tuesday morning up in Horizon in Newark. So thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.